Hi everyone, welcome back to the next diecast. In today's video, I'll be showing you and reviewing this 1/18 scale 2022 Porsche 911 GT3 made by Maisto. I got this model from Sam's Club for $17, thought that was an excellent deal, like always. This is a newly released model from Maisto, and aside from being able to find this model at wholesale clubs such as Sam's Club, Costco, and BJ's for around $17 to $20, you can find this model elsewhere online for usually between $30 and $50, depending on which site you're actually getting it from. I probably wouldn't pay much more than $50 for it, because then at that point you're kind of getting into upper end model territory, but I think the current price ranges for this model are fair. So as of now, Maisto makes this model in a variety of colors, both kind of standard catalog colors and a few exclusive colors. So currently now, these standard catalog colors are this really cool light blue that you see here, which is called shark blue on the real car, and also a metallic black. And there's actually several exclusive colors that Maisto is making for this model as well. There's a red version with red trimmed wheels that's being sold exclusively at Costco. There's also a yellow version with yellow trimmed wheels. And there's also an orange version that has a black stripe going down the hood that says Porsche and some black accents on the spoiler. And there are also versions of this model that have side windows. This version here does not have these side windows. I think if you're in Europe, the versions that you get there will have side windows. This model hasn't been out for a very long time. Maisto just released it in June, so all these colors are kind of just coming out. But the two standard colors that you'll get everywhere are the blue version and the black version. The rest of the colors might make it into Maisto's catalog eventually, but I think for right now, they're all kind of wholesale or store exclusive colors. And this model was kind of a big deal for Maisto because it's actually their first 1/18 scale Porsche model that they've released in over 10 years. The last Porsche that Maisto released in their 1/18 scale line was the Panamera sedan from their Premier Edition line back, I think, around 2009 or 2010. And since then, Maisto has not released any new models of Porsche vehicles until now with this GT3. So that is excellent to see that Maisto is kind of getting back into releasing 1/18 scale models of Porsches. So let's go ahead and take a look at the details of the model. We'll start with the front. I think just as a whole, Maisto does an excellent job capturing the shape and look of this car. But in the front here, you'll see that these headlights are very well done. There are no pegs. Maisto seems to be doing away with pegs for their headlights, which is very cool to see. And you have some nice molding in there with the bulbs and everything. There's actually some silver kind of painting back in there as well. And the lenses are actually nice and flush with the body, which is also a fantastic feature. You do have kind of these side marker lights on here. They're just painted on, but they are pretty small, so I guess it would have been kind of hard to make them as separately cast plastic pieces. So I don't think it's a big deal that they're painted on. And then in the front here, you will see the very nicely embossed Porsche badge in the center here. You can actually read the word Porsche on it and see that kind of small logo in the center. I think Maisto did a great job with that badge on there. And then you do have these two grills on the hood. And these are actually functional. These are two cutouts on the hood, which you'll see when we open it up later. Down here you have the German license plate, and then you have the plastic lower bumper and grille down here. Of course, the grille is not perforated, but at least the shape of what would be the mesh, I think, is accurate. And it does look pretty well done from a distance, at least. And then here's this light here, kind of a better view of all that paint detail that Maisto puts into it. And that is kind of cool to see that Maisto didn't put pegs in these headlights. A lot of times on their models, they were putting pegs to kind of hold the lenses and just the headlight assemblies, I guess, in place. But they're kind of doing away with that, it looks like, for their recent releases, which is very cool to see. Up here, you do have nicely done windshield wipers. They are the proper shape. They're done as a single piece, but at least Maisto kind of tries to hide the fact that they're a single piece because this one wiper is kind of tucked underneath that one there. But I think they did a good job with these overall. The paint quality on this model, I would say, is fantastic. I think Maisto really does capture the shark blue paint color quite well on this model. Now, the only, I think, metallic versions that you'll get are the black, and I believe maybe the one yellow version. I think the orange is just a gloss color, kind of like how this is just a gloss color. And the red may or may not be a gloss finish. I haven't been able to see it like in person to tell. I think it is cool that Maisto already offers a wide variety of colors. And this model's only been out for a few months. So that is cool to see that you can get a wide variety of different colors and styles for this model. But In terms of paint in general, nice and smooth throughout, looks very well done. No orange peel or anything like that, or rough areas or edges, and that's just very cool to see. And all the shut lines on the model, I would say, in general, are very well done. I think there is kind of a slight gap here, but if you get one of the darker colors like the black, you're not going to see gaps at all. So that's just something to make a note of. But I think the paint quality is fantastic on here. Maisto really has been doing a great job, I think, with recently released models as far as paint goes. On the side here, side mirrors are very sturdy, and the paint does, I think, match well with the metal portions of the car because the mirrors are made of plastic. Then you have that kind of lower black portion on there as well. Wheels are also very well done. They are the right shape, and they have the optional blue-lined rims, which are a pretty expensive option package on the real GT3. You can kind of get them color-coded to match the paint of your car. So I think it is cool that Maisto includes the color-matched wheels on the blue. I think the orange version has all black, but the blue, yellow, and red versions for sure have the color-matching wheel trim, which is a very cool touch. Kind of a nice accent feature, too. And the spokes, I think, are properly shaped, and you do see that GT3 symbol in the center of the wheel there. And Maisto, I think, also does a good job with the brake discs and calipers as well. Of course, the brake discs do not spin with the wheels, but on pretty much every Maisto model, you don't really see that. At least the detailing and the finer details are pretty well done. And I think the yellow brake calipers look excellent paired up with the blue paint. Just very well done. And of course, with this model, you do have full steering. Very good steering, I should add. And full suspension, too. I think it's worth mentioning that Maisto really has been doing an excellent job with their suspensions and their steering systems with their recent models. And then moving along to the back of the model, you do see this rear wing. Maisto, I think, does a decent job with it, although these brackets are not the proper, they're the proper shape, but there should actually be some cutouts in the centers of these. There's kind of a small hole on the real brackets, on the real spoiler, but Maisto just kind of makes these as a single molded piece for each one. The overall shape and everything is correct, but there are some holes. Like there's a hole in here, and there's a hole kind of in there as well on each bracket. But I think in general, the rest of the spoiler looks pretty well done. The spoiler itself is the right shape and has the right curvature. And you have kind of the matte black paint on the sides as well. And the body color paint does, I think, match perfectly with the metal portions of the car. And the piece itself is very sturdy. It's not loose at all, and you can technically pick up the car by the spoiler. I wouldn't recommend doing it constantly, but I think it is a sturdy enough piece that it can bear some weight. So that's just very cool to see. And back here, you do have that little tiny 4.0 badge underneath the spoiler, which you would see on the real car. Back here, I think the taillights are very well done. Similar to the headlights, there are no pegs back here. This is actually one single kind of light bar piece. I do like that feature on the current generation of the Porsche 911 series. I think it's a very cool touch. And you have a raised up kind of Porsche badging on here. They aren't painted on and they aren't stickers. They're actually raised up on plastic letters. I think it's all molded into this single piece here, but I like how instead of stamping them on, they actually use kind of 3D lettering, which looks very well done. And then you do have this very small mesh grille above these lights back here as well. And of course, you have the silver GT3 badge back there, done in silver. I think it's nicely embossed on there and looks very well done. And of course, you do have the painted on lower lights down here. Kind of cheap looking a little bit, but I guess it'll be kind of hard to make them as separately cast plastic pieces, seeing that they are so small and kind of thin too. And down here, you do see the exhaust pipes. They're done in all black as opposed to the usual chrome. So I think they look good in that sense, and they do kind of seem like they're hollowed out. So definitely an improvement on previous Maisto models, I would say, for sure. And that lettering does look great from this angle, too. Now, in terms of opening features, nothing back here opens, and that's true for the real car. Apparently, the engine of the current GT3 is just kind of so low into the car that it would be kind of impossible to do anything back here or reach into fix components or access any of the engine components. So nothing opening back here is accurate to the real car. Although on the real car, this piece here does kind of flip up as a little door, and you can fill in, I think, different fluids. I think the washer fluid and the oil might be in there or something like that. Of course, Maisto won't be putting in a little tiny door just for that, but I guess it is worth noting that the only thing that would open on the real car is this piece here. And this side actually is just fixed in place. I guess they put it in there just like for symmetry or something, but nothing opening back here is accurate to the real car. But you do, however, get an opening luggage compartment, as you'll see up here. I think Maisto does a pretty good job with the luggage compartment area in here. The plastic piece that this consists of is nice and tight with the body. Some Maisto models had the issue where if you move the piece around, it would just kind of shake and like rattle. But this is kind of nice and molded with the body. The only real gaps you see are where the hinges close for the hood. The hinges are a bit wide, but you can't really see them unless you look at them like that. And you do have kind of a nice texture going on inside the luggage compartment. And it actually does go down pretty deep. Like there's my finger in there. And you see here's a couple of mesh grills up here, and then you do have some vents up there as well. You don't have any kind of carpeting or anything, of course, but I think the overall look and just the shape and dimensions of this luggage compartment are accurate to the real car. And you do have a fully painted hood as well, which is nice to see. There it is there. And these shapes you see down here would be seen on the real car. So overall, I think they do a good job with the luggage compartment. And there's those cutout grills I was talking about on the hood. Very nice touch. Because see, here's the mesh vents, and then the grills, the air would come out of the grills or would go into the grills. So we'll close that up. And of course, you have opening doors on the model as well. Spring-loaded hinges, like always. They don't open up very wide, but I don't even know how wide they would open on the real car. I think a slight bit wider would have been nice, but at least they open to begin with, and they have nice, strong hinges to open on. I think you do get some decent detailing on the door panels. There is a nice kind of leather pattern on there, and you have that silver trim kind of going across the top center. There are a couple of buttons molded in there as well, and then you have kind of those lower pockets down there. In addition to that, there's kind of that texture right there. You can kind of see a slight bit better in that lighting. The rest of the interior on this model, I would say, is overall quite well done. You can see that you do have a screen in the center there, which is a sticker, but it does have a picture of the car on it. And then you have kind of those painted on buttons underneath the screen. You don't get a whole lot of buttons in general on the 992, 911 series, but I think what's in there, Maisto does kind of mold in nicely and paint on properly. I think that's a cool touch. And then you have the separate gear selector on there as well. It would be cool if they done it in like silver or something. And you can see on the steering wheel, excellent job with the texturing and with that Porsche badge in the center there. And you even get the steering wheel buttons on either side of that too. Very cool touch. And then you have one sticker for the gauge cluster, which you would typically see on Maisto models. And then up there you do have, I think that might be the tachometer on the real car, up in the center of the dashboard there. And speaking of the dashboard, there is kind of a nice, sort of like a leather pattern on there. And you do have the nicely molded in air vents as well. And there's the glove box down there too. So I think for a Maisto interior, for a recent release, this is pretty well done. Now in terms of the seats, Maisto also does an excellent job with those. You can see you have actually three different textures going on. You have kind of the leather on the perimeter, and then you have this kind of different, almost like a mesh texture in the center. And then you do have some carbon fiber texturing behind the seats. It is going to be kind of hard to see in certain lighting, but these seats that Maisto went with are an option on the real GT3, and these center parts here would actually be made of carbon fiber. And it's very hard to see, but you do actually get some dark blue GT3 badges on the headrests. It's very hard to see, and it kind of blends into that leather pattern almost. Let's see if I can get a better view of it here. Yeah, not really, but take my word for it that they are there. There it is there a little bit. GT3, you can see it kind of very faintly. And it is pretty hard to see even when you're not looking at it like this, because the car from this angle, you just see like most of the seats and not the whole entire seat. But I think it is cool that Maisto does put in kind of those finer details. And of course, you do get these seat belts, which are kind of tucked away behind the seats, and the roll cage, which is done in a separately cast black plastic piece. And you don't have a rear seat, which is proper to the real car. There's kind of this side of the interior once again. Just an overall good job, I would say, for a recent Maisto model. And you do have some pedals down there, and there's that carbon fiber texture I was talking about right there. It's only, I think, visible from this angle of the car. And you do have some pedals down there. They're just impossible to see because this is an all black interior and they're all black pedals. But if you want to paint them silver, I think that would kind of create a nice accent feature. I may go ahead and do that at some point or another. And even get a different pattern on the center tunnel here too. So although the interior is all black, you have at least 3 or 4 different textures of plastic going on. And I think that's a pretty cool touch. And here's kind of a better, I guess, view of the whole dashboard and those buttons there. So, you know, it's cool to see that you have the painted on buttons. And Maisto is kind of going back to putting screen stickers in their models. They were kind of doing away with that for a little while, which was unfortunate. But at least from here, you can see all the great kind of finer detailing with that texture and the different steering wheel controls and those center buttons as well. So I think for a recently released Maisto model, this interior is very well done. And then on the undercarriage, there really is nothing to see. You wouldn't really see anything underneath the real GT3. Everything's kind of covered up with paneling for aerodynamics, so not too much to talk about under there. So overall, if you're looking for a budget-friendly model of the latest Porsche 911 GT3, I think that this Maisto version is perfect. And really the only major, I think, issues with this model are just the inaccurate details, or the slightly inaccurate details on these spoiler brackets here. But I think as a whole, this is a pretty solid, I think, budget model of the 992 GT3, or the 992 GT3. I think Mini Champs is the only other manufacturer who's made, or who is making the current GT3. And that's going to be pretty expensive, and I think it'll be likely a sealed model. So that's going to be both out of people's price ranges. And for us who like models with opening features like I do, that wouldn't really be a good choice for collections. But I think in general, it's awesome to see that Maisto is releasing another Porsche model in their 1/18 scale line. It's been far too long, I think. And it is cool to see that they are making a model of the current GT3. So I'd say if you're a fan of Porsches, or if you like supercars in general, this would be a good addition to your collection. And I'm certainly glad to have it for my own collection. So as always, hope this was kind of a helpful overview of this model, and feel free to comment down below with your thoughts on the video. Thanks for watching.